Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program to you from Rajmakon University of Technology, Pranakon. And I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and one of their songs to you. And we'll discuss a little bit about both. We'll talk about the artist a little bit, and then I'll give you a little bit of background on the song, and we will discuss its main themes, what the song is all about. Then we'll go ahead and listen to the song, and in the second half of the program, we will analyze the lyrics. The lyrics are the words to the song, so we will talk about anything that may be difficult to understand, difficult vocabulary, slang, or any sayings in there that you may not understand. Then, we'll close out our program, and we'll have the news and the latest updates from the university, as always. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I am an English teacher here at Rajmakon University of Technology, Pranakon. I am from America, but I have been living here and teaching at the university for about 8 years, a little more than 8 years now. I do like to incorporate music into my classroom setting sometimes, and that's why it's natural for me to host a musical program for you. I do think music is a helpful way to learn English. Too often in the classroom, we're studying kind of normal things out of a textbook, maybe verb tenses or other sort of simple vocabulary. One thing nice about music, also it's a good thing about movies as well, but of course movies are a little harder to do within the classroom setting because they tend to be long. I have done that occasionally, but music is a lot easier to do in the classroom. And one thing that's good about music or movies is there's a lot of conversational English in there. There are sayings, there are slang, words that we use all the time that you may not get in a kind of standard textbook. And because of that, I think it's a good way to help you learn English. And so that's why we're here doing our musical program. So for today's episode, we are going to do the song Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys. All right, so first of all, a little background about the Beach Boys. I am pretty sure we have featured this group once before. I usually try not to feature the same group more than once. We have occasionally, a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times, we have done a second song from a group we've already done before. It's been a long time since we've done the Beach Boys. They're one of the most famous bands ever. And so that's why I'm almost certain we must have done them already. Although most of the groups we've done are slightly later than the Beach Boys, so there is a chance we have not done them. There's a chance. I don't really remember. I'm just guessing we have because they're so popular. But there's a reason we're featuring them for a second time. All right, so a little bit of background on the Beach Boys, and I will tell you why we're featuring them again, is that they were formed in 1961 in California. There were 5 sort of original members. They've changed their lineup a lot. I say a lot. I mean, it's not like there's been 20 or 30 different members all along the way, but it has changed several times. Including even their very lead singer, left around 2000. I think it might have been a little bit before then, maybe around 1997. He did come back briefly for kind of a reunion, bringing together the original members. And his name was Brian Wilson, and he is the reason why we are featuring the Beach Boys in this episode today. Sadly, Brian Wilson just passed away within this last week as of the time we're recording this program. We're recording this program in mid-June of 2025, and he just passed away within the last several days in mid-June 2025. And I guess it depends on your opinion, which band member you like, etc. But I think for most people, Brian Wilson is considered the face of the Beach Boys. He's kind of the number one guy. He was the lead singer. He was one of the original members. The only reason maybe he wouldn't be thought of that way is because the Beach Boys still perform. They've basically continued this whole time. But he hasn't been with them for almost 30 years now, other than that brief time he came back for the reunion. So maybe some people wouldn't consider him like the face of the band. But as with most of these bands, a lot of their performance later in their career is doing some of their more popular songs that the audiences want to hear. So there's less and less new music. And so my point is the main catalog, like the list of songs that the Beach Boys have put out, most of those did come during the time where Brian Wilson was with the band. Most of them come early in their singing careers, in their band careers. And in fact, that's the case with today's song. They recorded today's song, which is Barbara Ann. They recorded that song in 1965. And of course, as I said, they formed in 1961. Okay, so as far as what style or genre of music the Beach Boys play, it's pretty basic. And I don't mean that to mean that it's simple or boring. It's pretty interesting. They do a lot of harmonizing, which sounds really nice. What I mean is that we frequently talk about on this program about how I don't like talking about genres of music because a lot of bands will combine different genres. And so you can't really say this band is this type of music, this band is that type of music. There are certain styles where an artist or group are more likely to stick to it. For example, folk singers mostly do just folk songs. Most heavy metal bands will do essentially just heavy metal. Occasionally they might have a metal ballad, so it's not as hard sounding, but they'll still have some metal overtones in it. In other words, they're still using the same instruments, the same kind of sound. So those styles of music, sometimes the groups will stick to pretty closely. But when you're talking about a lot of other styles, there's a lot of crossover, like country music with bluegrass, and you sometimes have country rock singers as well. One of my favorite groups is the Charlie Daniels Band. We've done them on this show, and they're considered country rock because they kind of combine the two. So what I mean when I say the Beach Boys are pretty simple or pretty basic is that they're essentially just a rock group. They're kind of early rock, so they have somewhat of a softer sound to it. In fact, some might even say it combines a little bit of R&B. That stands for rhythm and blues. Some may say they combine a little bit of R&B. Some will say they combine some pop in there. There's definitely a pop element to what they're doing. But it's more just a pretty standard rock style. Again, it's kind of early rock, so it's maybe a little softer than you're used to hearing as far as rock music is concerned. But it's still rock and roll. It's still rock music. Okay. So they are actually one of the bands where, it's kind of okay to talk about what genre they are. They're just a rock group. Again, early rock, so it's a little bit softer, so it may not sound... You say they're a rock group, and then you listen to some of their songs, and you might think, that's kind of... You maybe were expecting a heavier sound than what you're hearing from them. That's normal for some earlier rock music. Rock and roll music kind of evolved over time, like most music does. And rock is no different, so it evolved. So this is kind of early rock. But you can pretty much say that that's the style of music they did. As I mentioned, maybe a little bit of R&B, a little bit of pop. So even they kind of spread out a little bit, crossed over some genres, but mostly they're just a rock band. And they were one of the most popular rock bands ever. They have recorded hundreds of songs. And they're really famous for kind of a beach feeling. What do I mean by that? Well, they're from California, and they do have several songs that are about the beach, about surfing or being at the beach or something like that. So they kind of have a very beach feeling to them. So that's what a lot of people think of when they think of the Beach Boys. It's in their name, after all. They're the Beach Boys. They put it in their name. So that's kind of the feeling for a lot of their songs. Now, the song today, that's not necessarily the case with. It's just about a girl, about a woman that the singer liked. And her name is Barbara Ann. That's the song we're doing. Now, the Beach Boys did not write a lot of their own songs. They did write several. Some of their most popular ones they wrote. But they did also borrow songs from a lot of other groups. This is one of those. I usually like to do a song that the band themselves wrote. In this case, I picked this one kind of because I like it. Also because it's fairly short. I wanted a shorter song because we had to do a lot of speaking here in the first part of the program because we're talking about Brian Wilson and his passing. And also, as I said, the Beach Boys are one of the most famous bands ever. So I wanted to give you kind of more background and feel for them than maybe some of the other groups we've talked about. But this is not one of their songs that they actually wrote. This was originally written and performed by a band called The Regents in 1961. The Beach Boys then recorded it in 1965. Now, you have to give a lot of credit to the Regents. They did quite well with this song. It got all the way up to number 13 in America. Number 13 out of 100. There's a magazine called Billboard, and they list the top songs, the top 100 songs every week. I'm pretty sure they're still doing it. They've done it for decades and decades and decades. I mean, we're talking about 1961 when the Regents originally put it out, and we had the Billboard top 100 all the way back then. And it got to number 13. Very good. Excellent. But the Beach Boys version was more popular. The Beach Boys version in 1965 actually got all the way up to number 2. Most people expected it to get to number 1. There was a Beatles song at number 1, but it had been there a while. So a lot of people thought the Beach Boys would get past it. Well, what happened is there was a different song from another singer that jumped over both of them, and that song went to number 1. So Barbara Ann never got up to number 1, but it was at number 2, so it was right there. And I should point out that it got there in 1966. Even though the song came out in 1965, it was late in 1965. And keep in mind, we're talking about a time where we don't have streaming services. There's no internet. So the way a song builds up its popularity is a lot slower back then. You know, people hear it on the radio, and then they have to call the radio station to request that they play it again because they like that song. And the radio station probably isn't going to play it again just for one person calling. So, you know, you get 2, 3, 4 people call. Okay, then we play it one more time. Okay, then we wait, and more people call. They like the song, we play it again. And finally, the radio station understands that people want to hear the song, so they'll play it more and more and more and more and more. So it takes a while. It takes a while for this popularity to build up. So the song came out in 65, but it got to number 2 in the charts in the early part of 1966, in January and February of 1966, especially January. And again, with the Regents, the original version, it got to number 13. So the Beach Boys version did do better. A couple of interesting things about this song is that it's been parodied twice. A parody is like when you make a funny version of a song. So if you're familiar with Western music, you might be familiar with someone named Weird Al Yankovic. That's all he does, is he makes parodies of songs. So he changes the words and makes a funny version of them. Well, a lot of you may actually be familiar with one of the parody versions, even if you didn't know it was this song. If you know the animated characters, the Minions, from Despicable Me 2, they sang something called the Banana Song. That is this song. This song, when it says the name of the girl, Barbara Ann, it starts out with Barbara Ann. Wait, that's hard to actually say. It's easier to sing it. It's easier in the song. But it starts out with ba ba ba. So that's the same thing the Minions do when they go ba 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 na na. That's the same thing they do. So the Minions actually took this song and made a parody of it. There's another parody which is less funny, especially right now because of what's going on in the world. And so I'm not even going to get into too much detail about it, but it has to do with the country of Iran, and some people thought it was funny. I know people who thought it was funny. I was around back when the parody came out, which was in around 1979, something like that. So I heard this. I heard the parody version when it came out, and some people thought it was funny. But generally, it's meant to be funny, but it's what I mean by when I say it's not funny, even though it's intended to be funny. It's supposed to be a funny song, is that it's in really bad taste. It's not a quote unquote nice song. So that's it. But you can look it up. It's online. It's on YouTube. I'll let you look it up. It's a Barbara Ann parody. It's about Iran. If you want to listen to it, go listen to it. I am not going to talk any more about that version. The Minions version is much cuter. That's a fun version of the song. So the Minions parodied this song. So you actually have probably heard, a lot of you, maybe not everyone has seen that movie, but it's a cute movie. I know it was popular even over here. So a lot of people have probably heard that version of the song. Okay, so this song is also known for its harmonies. The Beach Boys do a lot of harmonizing, and so it sounds really nice. I will say that the lyrics do vary depending on the version of the song you listen to. I am going to share with you the basic version, which is going to be the simplest version. So this has the least amount of lyrics. The video is only about 2.5 minutes long, so it's a pretty short song. All right, and again, what's it about? It's just about a girl. That's it. It's about Barbara Ann. That's all. It's about a girl. Okay, so let's get on to the song. As always, those of you joining us on YouTube, because of copyright issues, we cannot embed the video, so we will give you a link up top where you can click to go watch the video of this song, and then you can just click back to come back to listen to the second part of our program here. For everyone else, You're just listening. We can embed the music, so everyone else should be able to listen just fine. So let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So that was Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys. And like I said, it's a simple song about a girl. So there's not going to be a lot to talk about here in the second part of our program. There's really only 2 verses and the chorus. And the chorus is really simple. There's a couple of words in there I want to explain. Make sure you understand what the lyrics mean. But it's mostly simple. And we actually start the song with the chorus, which is a little different than most songs do. Most songs usually go verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and they might have what's called a bridge in there, which is kind of like a break in the song. There's no bridge here. It's very simple, but it actually does start with the chorus. So it goes chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Okay, so we start with the chorus. As I said in the first part, it starts out with kind of a funny way of saying her name because they say ba 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 ba. So they say ba ba ba, Barbara Ann, ba ba ba, Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann, and then it says take my hand. Okay, that's pretty easy, right? It's a song about a girl who wants to hold her hand. Right? This is a song from 1961. So this is back when people were a little bit more, reserved about showing any sort of love or anything like that. So holding your hand is kind of a big deal. So he wants to hold her hand, okay? So take my hand, Barbara Ann. You got me rockin' and a rollin', rockin' and a reelin', Barbara Ann. Okay, so you got me rockin' and a rollin', rockin' and a reelin'. Okay, we know what rock and roll is. What does it mean in this context? It just means he's kind of crazy about her. And that's kind of what it means when it says rockin' and a reelin'. Now, that's not a saying we use. So what does he even mean there? The word reeling, well, it has a couple different meanings. If you go fishing, when you're bringing the line back in, you turn the handle on the fishing pole. That's called reeling. You're reeling it in. But that's not what we mean here. The other definition for the word reeling means that you are, stunned by something. We usually use it in kind of a bad way. Like, let's say your favorite football team is winning 3-0, and all of a sudden, in the last 15 minutes of the game, the other team scores 4 goals. That's a lot in football, especially in such a short amount of time. So your team would be reeling. In other words, you're stunned by something that has happened. You're shocked. You're really surprised. We usually use it in a bad way like that. But it doesn't have to be. There's nothing in the word itself that means anything bad. You could use it in a good way, and that's what he's doing here. He's using it in a good way. He's stunned by Barbara Ann in a good way. He's like in love with her, like, wow, he can't believe it. He's stunned. So he's reeling. So he's rocking and rolling, rocking and reeling. In other words, he's just really in love with Barbara Ann. Okay. So then we get to the first verse. Went to a dance looking for romance. Saw Barbara Ann, so I thought I'd take a chance. Okay? That's pretty easy to understand, right? Went to a dance looking for romance. We don't have a lot of dances here in Thailand. I think most schools, even in America, don't even really do it very much anymore, except maybe something that we call a prom, which is like a big dance. They do still do those at most high schools. So you need to understand the culture back in the 1960s and 1970s, even the 1980s. We didn't have the internet. People weren't playing games on their phones all day. We didn't even have phones. I mean, we had phones. They had phones back then. I shouldn't say we. I wasn't born in 1961. I'm old. I'm not that old. But they didn't have mobile phones. I mean, so people weren't playing on their phones all day. We didn't even have video games really until the 1980s. So what did people do all the time? Well, we had events and things like that. And so one of the big events that would happen is dances, and a lot of times they were hosted by the schools, especially high school. Junior high, elementary school, you might be a little too young to be having a dance. So mostly high schools. And they would even have dance halls for like adults as well. And I don't know whether this is supposed to be high school or young adult, because he's singing this when this song was written and performed by them. They're singing it as young adults, but a lot of times the music is kind of aimed at high school students and things like that, high school age students. So he may be talking about high school dance, whatever. It doesn't matter. My point is we had a lot of these events. So he went to a dance looking for romance, saw Barbara Ann, so I thought I'd take a chance. So what he means by he thinks he'd take a chance is he's just saying that he's going to ask her to dance. He likes her. She's attractive. She's pretty. Maybe he already knows her from school or something, and so he sees her there. He likes her. He's going to ask her to dance. And that's what it means when it says he thought I'd take a chance. Because, again, back then with the culture of these dances, that was always kind of a big deal. Is she going to say yes, or is she not going to, or is she going to say no? Is she going to dance with me? So that's why it's taking a chance. He's going to go ask her to dance with him. And then the rest of the verse is really just part of the chorus, because then he says Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann, you take my hand, you got me rocking and rolling, rocking and reeling, Barbara Ann. So he basically repeats part of the chorus, and then after that we get the full chorus, and then we get the second verse. I told you there's not a lot to talk about here for this song. There's only 2 verses, so this is the last verse. And this verse does the same thing as the first verse, where the second half of the verse is just repeating part of the chorus. So we've really just got 2 lines here. Tried Peggy Sue, tried Betty Lou, tried Betty Lou, tried Mary Lou, but I knew she wouldn't do. Okay, so he's just naming 3 different girls' names. Peggy Sue, Betty Lou, and Mary Lou. We don't all have 2 names like that in America. There are some girls that do that, and it was more popular back then in the 1960s. He's just whoever wrote the song is just looking for cute names. Those names like that with 2 names, Peggy Sue, Betty Lou, Mary Lou. It just sounds cute. They sound like cute names. So that's the only reason they use those names like that. So when he says he tried, it probably means he asked them, maybe at the dance. Maybe not. Maybe he means in the past. Maybe he was interested in them at some point and thought maybe he would date them. And then either they said no, or it didn't work out, or maybe he changed his mind. It sounds like maybe he changed his mind with Mary Lou, because it says, tried Mary Lou, but I knew she wouldn't do. When you say something won't do, what does that mean? Won't do what? What are you talking about? Okay, this is a saying we have when you say something won't do. it means it's not good enough. Like, let's say you're a student in my class. You want to get an A for your course grade. Right now, you get about a B+, and we have only one assignment coming up, and it's the final exam. So you have a B+ grade. In order to get an A for the course, you need to get an A on the final exam to pull your grade up a little bit more. Well, let's say on the final exam, all you get is a B. Well, we could then say that that's not going to do. That won't do. It means it's not good enough. So it says, tried Mary Lou, but I knew she wouldn't do. In other words, Mary Lou wasn't good enough. And he knows it. I knew she wouldn't do. So then why did he try her? In other words, why did he try to go out with her or try to get a dance with her or whatever he means there? Why did he try with her? Even though he knows she's not going to do? Well, it could be that he just changed his mind. He thought, oh, I wouldn't mind dating her. Maybe because she's pretty, but she's not very nice. So, sometimes you get attracted to someone's looks right away because, they look very, very cute, very pretty, very handsome, whatever. And so you're attracted to their looks. And then as you get to know them, maybe not. So maybe that's the case with Mary Lou. We don't really know. It's just a simple, cute little song, so he's not going to explain it. And the song's not about Mary Lou. It's about Barbara Ann. Barbara Ann also has two names, Barbara Ann. All right, and that is really it, because again, the rest of that verse repeats part of the chorus. Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann, Barbara Ann. Take me by the hand, although he rewords it slightly differently there. But then he says, you got me rocking and reeling, rocking and rolling, rocking and reeling, Barbara Ann. So we get the same lines there. And then after that, we get the chorus for the third time, which is basically that same thing, right? Right, because he's repeating part of the chorus in the verse. So it's that same thing all over again. So that is really it. Very simple song. We really only had 4 lines that we had to talk about. Well, we did talk about the chorus a little bit, but like the word reeling, which might be a little bit tricky to understand what that means. So we did talk about that a little bit. But other than that, as far as the verses, there's four lines in the whole song. It is a very simple song. How does a song so simple get so popular? Well, sometimes simple songs are more popular because they're easy to remember. They're easy to remember. It's very easy to remember this song. They even repeat the chorus an extra time. Like I said, we start with the chorus. So it's just the same thing over and over and over again. They put part of the chorus in the verses. It's the same thing. So it's easy to remember, easy to sing. And so it became very popular. Okay, so that's Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys. And again, we're doing the Beach Boys in honor this week, for this episode, in honor of Brian Wilson, who, as of the recording of this program, has just passed away at the age of, I believe he was 82. I did not write down his age here in my notes. I believe he was 82 years old. And would that make sense? That would make him born around, 1933? They formed in 1961, 1933? 43. I have to think about that. They have 1943, I think. And they formed in 1961, which would have made him about 18 years old when the band formed. That seems about right. So I think 82 is correct. I think he died. I think he was 82 years old. All right. So now, as far as the Beach Boys, I always like to close my show by telling you some other songs to listen to. There are a lot of popular songs from the Beach Boys. So I'm just going to list a few of them here. And it's still going to be kind of a long list, longer than I usually give. Probably their most famous song might be California Girls. Maybe. Like I said, they had a lot of popular ones. So picking out which one is their most popular, I don't know. California Girls, Good Vibrations, I'm not sure. So here's my list for you. California Girls, Wouldn't It Be Nice? God Only Knows, Help Me Rhonda, Surfin' USA, I Get Around, Good Vibrations, Fun, 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 Be True to Your School, and Surfin' Safari. That's my list of songs to you to go listen to from them. And like I said, they're one of the most popular bands ever. Ever. They formed in 1961, so I wasn't even born then. I wasn't around to listen to these songs when they first came out, and I know every single one of these songs I just told you. There are other songs that they sing, Sloop John B., which is a song a lot of different groups have sung, but theirs is one of the better versions of it. That's another song by them that's pretty popular. I know most of their songs. That's how popular they are. I wasn't even born when they were at the peak of their popularity. I was not even born. And yet, the popularity of their songs stayed around so long that even once I was born and grew up old enough to appreciate music, people were still listening to their stuff. So I still heard a lot of their songs. So I know every one of these songs. I could sit here and sing half of them from start to finish for you. That's how well I know a lot of them. Some of them I don't know quite as well. Be True to Your School. I do know the song. Gotta be true to your school. I know that song. But I wouldn't be able to sing it all the way through. So a few of them I know a little bit less. But a lot of these, California Girls, Good Vibrations, I Get Around. I know there's from end to end. Barbara Ann, the one we did today. It's a very easy one to remember, so that's another one I can probably sing almost the whole way through. So very popular group. So go listen to those songs by them. You can find them pretty easily on YouTube or on streaming. Very popular group, the Beach Boys. And this might be the second time we've done them because, again, we're doing today's episode in honor of Brian Wilson, who sadly passed away at the age of 82 in June of 2025, which is when we're recording this. So that's your episode for today. The Beach Boys, Barbara Ann. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us, and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical